Gold FM is #1 here in Sigatoka.
Gold FM is our favorite radio station here in Lautoka.
Gold FM is #1 in Nel.
I love listening to Gold FM in Ba.
We love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits here in Suva.
Hear about bottle cola, you immediately think of gold. I'm Josephine Sabi and I love hearing Gold FM.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
In this bulletin, Suva shoe factory accused of breaking labor laws. Family loses home in Wailoku fire. And subleasing of state land being legalized. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and this is FBC News. Serious allegations tonight that a shoe factory in Lami is severely mistreating its workers. Investigations by FBC News has revealed Shoes Fiji Limited could be breaking several important labor laws of Fiji. Vosita Kotaiwasawasa with this exclusive report.
Asinada Rocco worked for Shoes Fiji for 8 months before resigning. She alleges working conditions at the factory were unbearable, with long hours without overtime, and that's why she left.
For us, when we enter the factory, there is no safety shoes provided and the smell of rubber becomes too much to bear. There are no gloves or dust coats and mask as smell of rubber is quite strong.
The Labour Minister, when informed today by FBC News about these allegations, said he was hearing this for the first time.
One of the key roles of our ministry is to ensure that every person that is working in Fiji works in a workplace that is decent and is safe.
Some staff allege workers at the factory get paid $2.15 an hour and are at times expected to produce 200 to 350 dozen butter flip-flops in a day without being paid overtime. A current staff member who doesn't want to reveal her identity for fear of victimization says she's not happy with how the Labour Ministry handled her complaints about pay conditions at Shoes Fiji. The staff member, who we will call Tinai for the sake of this interview, also alleges the company's supervisor sexually assaults female co-workers.
There were a lot of times he will do this to the workers. He cannot do it to me because I always talk straight to him. He always goes and fondles some of the women's breasts, and at one time there was this girl from Ra who told him off, and all he said was, "What, you like it too?"
They would be taken to task, that we can investigate and make sure that we can take action so that the lives of the workers, that they improve so that they're not working in unsafe conditions.
FBC News attempted to speak to the factory manager on camera, but he refused. Late this afternoon, some staff members informed us that they were handed safety gear for the first time today. Now there are also allegations of a witch hunt to find out who spoke to FBC News.
So all the allegations are not true?
No, not at all.
The company is OHS compliant workers? They have all that they need to ensure their safety?
They've got the glasses, the machines are totally OHS compliant, they've got safety shoes.
The Labour Minister says they will look into the list of allegations and investigate the daily operations of the company.
A 5-bedroom house was destroyed in a fierce fire at Wailoku outside Suva this afternoon. Homeowner Annie Fong says she was sleeping with her grandchild when she heard neighbors yelling out that there was smoke coming out of their house. Neighbor Nanise Rokula says she called for help when she saw the smoke.
It's quite a fighting challenge. So the distance and from the road, one of our trucks found it very difficult to reach. But we managed to use pump relays from truck to truck and get to the scene. And I'm happy that the team, with the water that we brought in the truck, we managed to contain the fire.
The National Fire Authority is yet to determine the cause of the fire. The Lands Ministry says it is closely monitoring those who are in breach of their state agricultural leases. Apisolome Dokar reports the ministry has started this work in the Western Division.
Illegal dealings by some people who lease state land is becoming a major concern for the Lands Ministry.
There is a huge number of people on agricultural lease that have divided their land into blocks and put it out on residential lease. This is against the law. they have breached their lease agreement. This is happening a lot in the Western Division.
David Mbosiwanga says everyone should know that all lease agreements are only to be dealt with by government and not any individual.
It is when people on residential lease request for their title, then they come to know that they have been involved in an illegal deal. Then they complain to the ministry. So what we do is either evacuate them or legalize their lease. Since it is government's task to also look at the welfare of its people, we are now legalizing such cases, as it will be hard for them to evacuate and start all over again.
Subleasing tenants who have been given a legal lease by the government are now paying their rent, putting a stop to the legal payments made to the original leaseholder.
These people now pay their lease to government. This is a challenge that we are now working on, which is being looked after by a new unit that is being set up.
A team from the ministry is on the field looking into all state agricultural leases to ensure there are no breaches. Apisolome Doka, FBC News.
Following the cue given by its neighbours Australia, New Zealand now also stands ready to offer assistance to Fiji for the general elections. The acting New Zealand High Commissioner says more assistance apart from the current technical expertise will be offered soon. Eleanor Tarangaivu reports on the softening of New Zealand's tough stand on Fiji.
Like Australia Day celebrations last week, New Zealand's Waitangi Day seemed like the perfect time to make friends with Fiji.
This came about as a result of a needs assessment that was done by New Zealand with other partners at the request of the Elections Office. These two experts we have are working with experts from Australia and from the European Union, and they're working together on the technical aspects of the elections.
Mark Ramsden says his government will also provide monetary aid if the request comes from Fijian authorities.
We stand ready to help with other offers of technical assistance as the requests come.
After a gap of 9 years, Waitangi Day was celebrated again in Fiji last night. With the President and government ministers also invited, it's obvious New Zealand will be working overtime to normalise its relationship with Fiji as soon as possible.
We're off to a good start. It seems that the technical process is working quite well. There's a lot of good support.
New Zealand's change in attitude hot on the heels of Australia comes as no surprise. After all, they have almost always taken their foreign policy cue from Australia. Eleanor Turangaivu, FBC News.
Water woes thing of the past as Vuninu Ndrovu villagers get boosted water supply. That's after the break.
Today FM is #1 here in Singatoka.
We love Today FM in Lambasa. It rocks!
My favorite station in Nandi is Today FM.
Listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks in Subah.
Loto kasi di love today's kid music.
I love Today FM because they play all my songs.
We love Today FM at Vuniva Lambasa. Yeah, it rocks!
I love Today FM because it rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Welcome back. This is FBC News. A Suva man who appeared in High Court this afternoon charged with drug offences is now in deeper trouble after making serious threats to journalists. Josese Rakwita and his daughter Lithia Rakwita are charged for being in possession of 918 grams of amphetamine, which was found at their home after police raided it following a robbery at the Sunbeam Transport Office in Samambula last week. Another family member involved in the same case and also found in possession of these drugs was in the next court. A reporter who covered the case was threatened with violence in court. He and another reporter was also sworn at and their families threatened by the accused Josese Rakwita. The matter was reported to the police this afternoon. Rakwita and his daughter have been remanded in custody and will reappear in court on the 28th of this month. The Fiji National Provident Fund has made a remarkable turnaround from the path of bankruptcy it was heading towards. In opening the new Lautoka office, Prime Minister Vorengen Bainimarama says the reforms undertaken by his government has saved the fund for its members. Epeli Tokoasa reports.
Prime Minister Vorengen Bainimarama says a good indication of FNPF's strong financial position is the 21% improvement in performance last year.
My government and the current board rescued the FNPF from certain bankruptcy. Without our reforms, we would have gone broke by 2052. Stony Brook, so that if you are a worker in your mid-20s now, there would have been nothing left in the fund in 38 years' time.
The Prime Minister says the reforms by his government has saved the members from losing their money over the next few decades.
Financial position is now strong and sound. And the proof of that is in the audited financial results for 2013, a net surplus of $293 million. That's a 21% improvement in underlying performance. That means the savings of ordinary Fijians are secure.
Marama says the fund, which started from a modest investment of $30,000, has now grown to $4.2 billion.
You'll have heard me say many times that we are building a new and better Fiji. But I take few things more seriously as a Prime Minister than my obligation to do everything. I possibly can to ensure the well-being of all our retirees, present and future.
Marama says past politicians who failed their duties and put workers' future at stake are now repeating their lies about the state of the fund, which, contrary to their false allegations, are now in safe hands. Epeli Tukuasa, FBC News.
A 7-year-old water problem in Naitasiri has been solved following an investigation by FBC News. Wuniniundrovo villagers have been living with severe water shortages all this while, but authorities have finally done something about this. Eleanor Turangaivu reports.
In 2007, the main underground pipe which supplied water to Wuniniundrovo village was washed away during floods. This pipe was then installed as a temporary measure.
So from that time till now, we are facing difficulties with this small piece of pipe that's getting installed from the other side of the river to this side. So it cannot feed all household, 46 households here in our village.
Meli Wangambada says there is never enough water in the village for everybody. Children suffer the most. At other times, they can only get water at night.
Because from this side here, sometimes when they use water from the other side, they cannot use it because it's not proper and it's not enough for the village. We need it because it's urgent, and for all of us as count as humans, we all need water.
This situation was brought to the Water Authority's attention by FBC News 4 days ago. Quick actions soon followed. As a temporary measure, the Water Authority of Fiji has installed a new service line which runs parallel to the existing one. It is expected to boost pressure to the village, and villagers can expect a regular water supply.
Before, only one line takes water to the village. Yesterday, the Water Authority team came here and put up another pipe, and now there's two. It accommodates our need. Our cries have now been heard.
The Water Authority of Fiji is now looking to install an 80mm pipe along the riverbed so villagers can get a steady and regular water supply. However, there's no timeline as to when work on this permanent solution will be carried out. Eleanor Turangaivu, FBC News.
Have you ever stopped to think which country has been producing world-famous Cougar rugby jerseys? Well, you don't have to search far and wide. Akosita Tale reports Fijians can now feel proud of Fiji Rugby and even Australian Football League jerseys, knowing it's manufactured right here at home in Fiji.
Since it started operations in Lautoka in August last year, Australian-based international sportswear manufacturer Cougar has achieved a lot in record time.
We've invested a significant amount of money, well in advance of $1.5 million. And we're going to invest a lot more. But what's exciting here for Fiji is seeing the rugby jerseys, and you know what Fijians feel about rugby. I mean, they're rugby mad. From the design stage right through to the finished product, packed.
With Lautoka's strong textile history, the Sugar City was the best location for the big company. Cougar is now manufacturing for the local market the same products they produce for the overseas market.
We are going to work very hard in pricing these quality products into Fiji at prices they've never seen before. We want to try and sponsor and support local market. And I'm talking about from schools, village teams, provincial teams, the whole lot.
This is inside the Cougar factory here in Lautoka, and behind me you can see where jerseys are cut and sewn before they're sent to renowned teams in the world.
We are always trying to go that extra mile to produce something that the world's never seen before. We were the first ones to design tight jerseys for the Sevens back in 2005. We were the first ones to change styles of collars. You know, remember, you used to have collars like this on rugby jerseys. It's now, you know, round neck, different neck, so that they can't be grabbed during the game.
The company are also the producers of the new Fiji Sevens team jerseys, which carry the name of new sponsors Vodafone for the first time in 7 years. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
Sports now, and here's Jamie with the latest.
Good evening. Well, I'm sure the weekend is getting off to a great start after Fiji overcame New Zealand in its first pool match at the Wellington Sevens. We speak to coach Ben Ryan after the break. Also coming up, Albert Miller stopped in his tracks. Details after the break.
Golnga elambasa Bula FM number 2 na sere.
Ando talita kana borong na Bula FM number 2 na sere su.
Kau buat itu geraki au rebot juga nistima au ando talita kana borong na Bula.
Bola bina Fiji Bula FM number 2 Singatoka.
Bola bina era roga Bula FM number 2 Tikonga.
Bula FM number 2 na sere.
Welcome back to FBC Sports. Fiji started off its Wellington Sevens campaign on a high this afternoon, beating New Zealand 12-7 in the opening pool match. Despite the Vodafone Fiji side being the underdogs in the game, they managed to stun the Kiwis on their home soil. Tries to Emosi Mulevoro and Samisoni Viriviri saw Fiji take the win. An injury scared the skipper Osea Kolini Sao took some gloss off the window as he required x-rays and medical attention to an injured foot.
You know, it didn't help having a wet ball as well. You know, a couple of our offloads we dropped and gave them some possession, but we played pretty smart, particularly when we were down to 6 men. That was pretty crucial, and we were good at that. And then we took advantage when New Zealand were down to 6.
Ryan says he's proud of his side as they managed to hold off the hosts after Viriviri was sent to the sin bin.
It's tough with 6 men, no doubt about it. And against New Zealand, they'll stretch you, but the boys were clever. They didn't attack the breakdowns. They stayed 6 men on their feet. And we learned from when we've had sin bins in the past, so I was really pleased with that.
Meanwhile, New Zealand coach Gordon Tidgen says the wet conditions didn't help them.
As soon as it started raining, you know, it becomes a real leveller, and I felt my guys were really up for it. You know, we prepared really well for that particular game, so really disappointing when certainly the showers came down, because it was a bit for both sides. I think it was a disadvantage because it probably wasn't the spectacle it could have been, and it comes down to one defining moment really, and that was it. You know, it's a loss for us. We've got to put that behind us now and look to beat Spain in front.
And the Vodafone Fiji Sevens team is going full steam ahead at the Wellington Sevens. They've qualified for tomorrow's Cup quarterfinals after first beating New Zealand 12-7 and a short while ago France 26-5. Indra Singh files this report from Wellington.
Very warm welcome from Wellington's Westpac Trust Stadium, where Fiji has just moments ago won its second pool game, beating France 26 points to 5. Again, our deadly and danger man and the fastest man in the Fiji team, Samisoni Viriviri, dotting down for 2 tries, as in the other 2 tries scored by Benito Masilevo and Levani Botia. France wins the try, but that was not enough. Looking at it, Fiji has qualified for the Cup quarterfinals from its pool. This is one better from last season's Wellington Sevens, where Fiji was relegated to the bowl, and also from Vegas, where they also played in the bowl. Now, the decider in this pool who joins Fiji in the Cup quarters will be between New Zealand and France later on, while Fiji plays Spain in its last pool game.
Still with Sevens, the International Rugby Board wants to ensure all teams compete on a level playing field in the World 7 Series. To ensure smaller teams are not left out, there are plans in the pipeline to add a new tiered tournament. Indra Singh has more.
Played on your dashboard at all times. Remember, no.
With the Wellington Sevens having started today, there is set to be changes made for the next edition of the IRB World Series.
The process we have of promotion and relegation is good, but I think there's still a disparity between the teams that play in the series and then lower teams. So we need to now bring in another level of series, so teams that drop down from the series have still got can still keep the standard going and try and make sure that they can then have an opportunity to get back in.
It's all about taking the series to another level, and IRB is bent on giving all teams a fair chance.
We're very much looking to try and develop that. Obviously, it's such a busy calendar of rugby, not just sevens but 15s around the world. So we need to try and work that in without also, losing the impact of the regional tournaments, because next year, those regional tournaments will be very important.
The crowds like these are what makes the world body smile, and this weekend they are not expecting anything less.
First of all, we've got 15 core teams now, so you must remember they're playing all the time, so the competition has got that much stronger. There are upsets along the way. We've also changed the process of doing the pools so that it's a random draw after each tournament. So that places the teams in different bands and different groups. So we've been doing that based on their performance from previous tournaments. Obviously, this is something we're always looking at, but it just shows you the strength of all the other teams now.
And what about Fiji hosting a series in the future? It's a constant question that IRB has had to answer for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously made good connections when I was in Fiji, and they are keeping me informed in the process that's going on. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done within the Fiji Rugby Union, but I know they are trying really hard. I think there isn't anybody that I know that wouldn't want to have a tournament in Fiji. I think Fiji deserve to have a tournament, but it's a lot of expense, it's a lot of work.
So while Wellington is being enjoyed by all this weekend, it's time for Fiji to think hard if they want a piece of the action. You can only imagine what it will be like to host a tournament of the series in Fiji. Interesting, FBC Sports.
And Fijian fans were out in numbers at the Wellington Sevens today. As been the practice in the past, Fijian supporters came out dressed and ready to cheer the side on. Just before the gates opened, the fans were already decked out in blue with flags, t-shirts and banners to ensure Fiji is not lacking in support in the Windy City.
The HSBC Wellington Sevens coverage was brought to you in conjunction with Skipper Tuna, better taste, better value, and Fiji Airways.
Athletics Fiji Interim Committee President Albert Miller was stopped from travelling overseas today. Miller was on his way to attend an Oceania Athletics meeting. However, FBC Sports understands because of a current bitter feud between Athletics Fiji executives and Miller's newly formed committee, the Oceania Athletics Association cancelled his trip until the issue is resolved. The Fiji Sports Commission is looking into Athletics Fiji affairs, which has opposing sides arguing over constitutional matters. It's also understood the cancellation of Miller's trip by the OAA is the first of many negative repercussions Athletics Fiji could face. The OAA will attend Athletics Fiji's annual general meeting in March to help resolve the standoff that is currently affecting the development of all local athletes. That was your sports for tonight. It's back to Jackie now with business.
The president of Women in Business, Dr. Nurbano Ali, says there is a lack of monitoring in gender-based agendas. At a WIB function in Suva last night, she said Fiji is ranked 113th out of the 132 countries that participated in a global gender gap report last year. She says Fiji is quite behind. Dr. Bano says there should be no room for complacency and gender-based issues needs continuing focus.
We at Women in Business believe that through these awards, we will bring the required attention to keep the agenda for women in commerce in focus and thereby making Fiji a better place to work and live in.
The organization is preparing to host the annual Women in Business Awards on the 8th of next month. Jen with Friday's weather.
Thanks for such a chirpy introduction, Jackie. I feel so special. As forecast, it was all clouds and showers today, particularly in the afternoon. Temperatures were all in the 30s at 4 p.m. today. Nandi, Lautoka and the Hidden Paradise had the lowest on 31 degrees, while Ambasa's got the highest on 33. Isolated afternoon thunderstorms are expected tomorrow, but I don't think anyone will be complaining, since the only thing on our minds right now is the sevens. As for our marine forecast, southeast winds are at 15 to 20 knots with moderate to rough seas. Malevu village in Nandrunga is our location of choice this evening. And if you live in Nandrunga or anywhere else for that matter, do head down to our FBC Open Day tomorrow. You'll get to meet your favorite personalities like myself and see how things are done behind the scenes. That's it from me. You have a wonderful weekend, and hopefully I'll get to see you at our Open Day.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. Our main points again: Suva Shoe Factory accused of breaking labor laws, family loses home in Wailoku fire, and subleasing of state land being legalized. On to our poll question for this week, we're asking, should smoke detectors be compulsory in all houses? Log on to our FBC website to answer. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your stories at FBC News or simply hashtag FBC News. That's all from us tonight. I'm Rita Priyadashini, joins you from tomorrow with the Weekend Bulletin. I'll be back on Monday. Until then, you have yourselves a safe and enjoyable weekend.
Mirchi FM is #1 in Singapore.
और किसके सुनिए यार, हमारा एक सच्चा साथी है मिर्ची FM लंबा साके.
I love Mirchi FM. It's so hot. देखे में लाल लाल, खाए में हाय हाय. Tangi tauba में Mirchi FM is hot.
Here at Rugby Town, Singapore, love listening to Mirchi FM. Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM is #1 in Suva. It's hot.
हम इंग्लिश लंबासा में रहता है. तो क्या बताएं, मिर्ची FM सुनता है.
Mirchi FM, बहुत जुलूम जुलूम.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.